Please still standing for the prayer and Lichfield District Council.
Good evening, everybody. Reverend Ian Hayton will say prayers.
We offer to you, O Lord, the troubles of this day. We lay down our burdens at your feet. Forgive our sins and give us your peace. Loving God, we thank you for this district, for its people, its prosperity and its potential. We thank you for those who have devoted themselves to its service, and particularly this evening, we thank you for our outgoing chairman, Colin, for his willingness to serve this community and for his commitment to the office he has held. We pray now for our new chairman. May his leadership be respected and appreciated by all, and we ask that he will enable you to enjoy his year in office. At this time of change, we thank you and pray for all who serve Lichfield, Burntwood and the surrounding villages as part of this district council. For those who are elected as councillors, particularly those who are new to this council, and those who are employed as officers. In these uncertain times, may they know the leading of your Holy Spirit, so that this community may be led in the ways of peace, justice and righteousness, and that none be neglected or ignored. We offer these prayers in the name of the risen and glorified Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Stephen? Thanks to Ian, but more of that later. Item 1, can I ask if there are any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We've received no apologies for absence.
Help the attendance figures. Item 2, are there any declarations of interest? No, I take it there are no declarations of interest. Item 3 is the election of chair and council for the ensuing year. Can I ask if there are any nominations? Councillor Mike Wilcox.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to propose Councillor David Cross.
And seconder? Can I second that nomination? Can I ask if the proposer's seconder would like to say any more?
Yes, please, Chairman. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I've known David Cross as a fellow ward councillor and friend for some probably 15 or so years, both on the parish council at Bradley and here at the district council. Derek has been chairman of the parish council and plays an active role in the villages of Bradley and Orrewas. He did a few years ago reach the Disney Heights of vice chairman, but for whatever various reasons, didn't quite get the ambition and make it to become chairman. Now, Derek, this is your big moment as you take on this most important role in our district, following in the footsteps of some formidable previous Orrewas and Bradley ward councillors in John Middleton in 1979-80, and of course Margaret Stanhope from 92 to 93, to name but two. I know that Derek will do this role to the best of his ability, supported ably by his wife, Pat, and their family. Fortunately, Derek, you have two exceptionally well-versed councillors in your ward with you, so we'll be able to pick up all those issues that you're not able to take on whilst you have your whilst you represent this council for the next 12 months. It's an honour to propose Councillor Derek Cross.
Okay, and seconding is Councillor Pullen.
Thank you, Chairman. There's not much more that I'm going to add than the Councillor Wilcox has already said. Councillor Cross, as Councillor Wilcox has alluded to, served ably for a couple of years as vice chair. It's a pleasure to see him serve the district as chair.
Can I ask if there are any other nominations? No, in that case, can I ask all those in favour? Any against? Councillor Cross is elected chair of the council. Didn't record any abstentions. Were there any abstentions? Okay. Elected.
I, councillor Derek Cross.
I'll start again, sorry. I, councillor Derek Cross, having been elected to the office of Chair of the Lichfield District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to be guided by the Lichfield District Council members' code of conduct in the performance of my functions in that office. Dated this 23rd day of May 2023. The Greatrix will give the change. All right. Thank you. Before we move on to the next item, I'd like to thank you all for having the confidence in me to carry out this role this next year. I was very impressed that I was given this and after so long waiting for it. And I promise you, I will do my very best to serve every single one of you here. And I look forward to this 12 months of working with you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to present these badges to Mr. Greatrix. And thank you for your service that you've given us for this last 12 months. And thank you very much on behalf of the Lichfield District Council. And also to Councillor Cox would now like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to Colin Greatrix, carrying out his duties, representing the Lichfield District with diligence, humbleness and humility. Our council meetings were chaired with firmly and more importantly fairness to councillors, allowing the debate and the opinions to be expressed. But of course, Colin had the ability to respect the halt of debate if the subject was deviating off the subject and into an unexpected areas within standing orders. The contribution of the council was always upheld at the meetings chaired by Colin, ensuring we all conducted ourselves in the manner expected of us, which included council etiquette and traditions. Sadly, as a result of the elections, council has lost an excellent councillor, who I'm sure will agree with me will be sorely missed. Colin first became a councillor in 1999 and served in the cabinet and committees during the time at Lichfield District. Colin never did anything by halves, always put his soul and heart into his work as ward councillor, cabinet member, committee member, political campaigning, and being there as a great ambassador to the district, and someone who will always be available and willing to give advice when needed, or not, as the case may be. Back in 2003, following my first election, this council, Colin was cabinet member for finance. And as a rookie councillor, I gave a maiden speech, question really, to Colin on finance. I was terrified, a bit like today. Which of course, which was an icebreaker, as it gave me confidence to speak at council, which of course is fundamentally why we are all here in this wonderful council chamber, to be it for the uncomfortable seating and poor acoustics. So finally, thank you, Colin, for your service to this council and certainly for the last 5 years, but I think personally today for the many years that you were also on this council. So I want to submit that to council. Thank you.
Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your, abstaining on your appointment. I predicted 12 months ago that Colin Greatrick would be an excellent chair. He certainly was fair, and he's one of the few that have really known the rules of the and standing orders of the council. And of course, that knowledge will be particularly needed, I think, over the next 12 months. But nevertheless, he was very good at that, and I thought that his fairness was exceptional. He was very good as chair of Ordnance Standards as well. I remember that very well. And although our loss will be, in a sense, literally district council, although no disrespect for your successor in the ward, it won't be cause of loss, will it? I don't think so. Your influence will be here and elsewhere as well, so outside the district as well as in the county. So I just wanted to say a vote of thanks to support the vote of thanks to Colin for his chairmanship and how well he did it, and hope he well with the charity as well, which is an excellent charity. Thank you.
Councillor Checker.
Thank you, Chair. May I also wish you every success in your new role. This year, I have had the pleasure of also being in the local civic service. Councillor Greatrick, or Colin as I now call him, and I have attended numerous events together, and he and Donna have represented the district council with professionalism and enthusiasm. Attending events locally and further afield, often at their own expense, to ensure that those people who have supported this area have then received this district support in return. We have run a number of charity events together between us, and his scary karaoke evening, I can assure you, fitted the bill, with Colin and his family throwing themselves into it, and the vice chair also doing his part. He's made chair of the meetings, and he has acted as a conduit to our local neighbours around the area. He has an extensive knowledge of Lichfield's history and is a big fan of Dr. Johnson, who will probably make a quote later. So I'm going to get in first. The quote that Google told me about was, "Great works are performed not by strength but by perseverance." Colin is an example of that. He has worked at all levels of council for numerous years. We've just served 24 years at district council. He's still on city county council, and he also works at the Clark Coleshill. So nobody knows the system probably better than he does. I know he will continue to persevere and to achieve. So I think, but I'm sure it won't be for me.
Thank you. Mr. Yes, Councillor.
Hey, thank you, Chair. I do rise to thank Councillor Greatrick for his year in the chair, and specifically an intervention, I think in the February meeting. And I very specifically remember this because I got my hand in the air and I was about to lose my head about something, and I'm sure we can all remember what that was. And there was just one sentence that came from the chair before I jumped in, just to remind us about actually what that agenda item was talking about. And there were some allusions earlier to making sure that we stayed within the kind of bounds where the constitution needs to be. And I think sometimes it's really easy to overlook how much of a skill that is, to be paying attention to the papers and everything the chair needs to do up there, as well as listening to the debate, and as well as making sure that we're all kept in line. And whilst there are Okay, it didn't break. And whilst there are political differences and whilst there are disagreements in this chamber, I think it's really important that actually every single one of us recognises that where there is that common ground and where there is that scope to be able to recognise somebody's skills and somebody's commitment, that we do rise to do that. So on behalf of myself, I'm sure many of other councillors, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Greatrix, would you like to respond to anything?
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations. I'm going to disappoint at least one person because there's no Johnson quote. I do have to thank a few people. I thank Leslie Bennett for the support that she's given during the year as the Civic Secretary. I know some authorities have a dedicated resource for the role of Civic Secretary, and it's always more difficult when she's got to bolt on the things like looking after the PA to the Chief Executive and the leader, as well as the more important thing of looking after the civic role. So I appreciate that, and she's managed to achieve that. I thank Reverend Ian Hayter for his diligence in appearing for the District Council and saying prayers. You probably know that he's been around in Wade Street for some number of years, and he's done the city mayoral duties, but he's not done the district one, so I'm quite pleased he's able to do that in his retirement. And he's done the footballer's dream, as they say, because he's managed to do the 110%, because he was here for the handover for the last meeting, and he's done the handover meeting for this one, so he's achieved the 110% performance. I've given sort of private thanks to them and the Roger and Andy. If they happen to be watching on YouTube, thank you for your efforts during the year. The last person to thank is Donovan, my consort, who's been available and ready and charged and appropriately dressed for the occasion, which is no mean thing when you haven't got any clothes, and it's a struggle to find something to wear. But she's been on time, and we've been at all the events and hardly ever late. And it's been a wonderful occasion for us to both see so much of each other during the year, because we don't get the chance normally. And coming back from somewhere at silly o'clock, some distant point of the county, is just one of the thrills. One of the benefits of doing this late in the year is that I've seen some of the handovers already taking place. So just as a name check, I've seen the handovers for the new mayoral duties at Stafford Borough Council, at Newcastle Borough Council, at Lichfield City Council, and at Staffordshire County Council. And I'm afraid all of them have taken place with the same script, so I'm going to plagiarise a very similar thing. It's been a busy year. When you think there's been a Platinum Queen's Jubilee series of events, there's been the receiving of the Commonwealth Games torch throughout the district, the sad death of Queen Elizabeth and the proclamation to King Charles, which I did in front of the cathedral, and more recently, the King's coronation events running through the district. If that's not enough, we witnessed the 2 visits to the Royals, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, to both the NMA for Remembrance Day, and also the cathedral later for a music and picture display, which was in the spring. Oh, and during the year we had 3 prime ministers. And I know I'm about to become another collapsed star in the Milky Way of life. However, I will remember the historic occasion of this particular year is not likely to be repeated. Now, it's normal that the civics at this point to say just how much they've raised, how many thousands they've managed to achieve in their year. And so with great pride, I can tell you that I've raised literally dozens of pounds. It's over 300 at the last count, but that was not the purpose of the charity, as has been said. Easy IT was supposed to get more people online and more people familiar with working online, being able to feel comfortable about that. And we had a bunch of volunteers doing that, and the raising of the money has not been the main purpose. It's been quite interesting, to say the least, speaking to people, some of whom have got problems and challenges in terms of getting online, but I've worked through that and I'm prepared to help out where I can, although I will wind up the charity because it's no longer appropriate as part of the district council. The modest funds that I have raised, I'm going to passport on to the IT buddies who work very well in the libraries on Mondays and Wednesdays, and also the Kerber repair shop who do wonderful things at Kirkby Community Centre, normally once a month there and once a month in Birmingham. So the one final thank you that I need to give is to the particular members of the district council who've been very supportive, and because we're 100% performance and they got elected, I can say that. So councillors Checkland, councillor Salter and councillor Powell have been particularly useful in raising those funds and also making the year go the way it did, and I thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. It's spoken. Can we now move on to the agenda item number 4, minutes of the last meeting? I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of April be approved as a correct record. Can I take the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of April as a correct record? I see no raised hands. The minutes are approved. I see no further raised hands, so I take the minutes as approved until the amendments made. Can we move on then? Thank you very much to agenda item number 5. To receive the returning officer's certificate of election of district councillors on the 4th of May and his report on councillors' declarations and statements of office. Can I ask the Chief Executive to give his report, please?
Thank you, Chair. I hereby certify that the persons listed have been duly elected district councillors for the wards indicated and have signed their declarations of acceptance of office. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, which is the election of vice chair of council. I'm asking for nominations for the appointment of vice chair.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose Councillor Holland.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Chairman, I'm pleased to second.
Thank you. Speaker, please, Mr. Paul,
Thank you, Chair. First, I'd like to congratulate you on your appointment. I have no doubt that you will do this council proud throughout your year. Chair, I have the pleasure of proposing Councillor Holland to the Vice Chair of this council. Councillor Holland is new to the council, but he does have a very good pedigree. He has owned and successfully run multiple businesses. Councillor Holland also became president of the Lichfield Rotary Club in 2021. Chair, I have absolutely no doubt that Councillor Holland will be a great support to you and the next ambassador for this council throughout this year. Chair, I so propose.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I welcome you formally to your position, and I'm sure that you'll discharge it with fairness and diligence. Chairman, instead of some people who are marked for good things, that you hear of their deeds quite a long time before actually meeting them, and so has been my experience with Councillor Holland. As a former Whittington member myself, I've maintained a few connections across the ward and try and signpost people to people that I think can help, and I did that during the election. I spoke to a resident who raised issues around events licensing and mentioned that one of our Conservative candidates was Richard Holland, and the resident said, "Oh, I know him from Rotary. He's going to be absolutely excellent. I'll give him a call." There's a local public house that had a planning concern, so I suggested a moment to speak to him, and they said, "Oh, we know Richard Holland. He comes in here. He's a great bloke. We'll raise that with him." But perhaps the strongest endorsement that Councillor Holland received is from my mother-in-law, who mentioned, as the then chairman of Bradley and Streeter Parish Council, that a new, proactive and competent person had joined the parish council, and that person turned out to be Richard Holland. I say this to you, Richard, she's a difficult lady to impress. Then I met a gentleman who is now Councillor Holland on the campaign trail, found him to be bright, charming and driven. I was delighted to see him elected, and so while I may have already set him up with a little bit of ward work, and this is absolutely not an apology for that, I think that he's going to bring all of those skills to the role of Vice Chairman of Council. He was a superb candidate. I'm sure he'll be a strong councillor, and he's a thoroughly pleasant man. I'm delighted to second him for the role of Vice Chairman of Council.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other nominations? Right, if not, all those in favour, please show. Show of hands. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. I declare Councillor Collins duly appointed to the
I, Councillor Richard Holland, having been elected to the office of Vice Chair of the Lichfield District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to be guided by the Lichfield District Council Members' Code of Conduct in the performance of my functions in that office. Fellow councillors, is that right? That's right. You did promise me a break. Fellow councillors, it's an honour and a privilege to be elected as the Vice Chair. Thank you for your support, and I very much look forward to working with you over the next 12 months. I now present these badges to Mr. and Mrs. Warburton as a token of appreciation of this council for their service over the last 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Mike Wilcox.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations, you've made it to item 6 in scale. Well done. Here we have another Vice Chair who didn't quite make it to chair in Councillor Warburton. Unfortunately, an event that took place a few weeks ago saw him not return to this chamber, and that's a real pity. Harry's done a term of 4 years, of which he's played a real active part. Once again, he comes from that area of Bradley and Streathayes, and I do know now that with the introduction of the separation of Bradley and Streathayes Parish Council, that Harry will find himself as chairman of, well, I hope he will anyway, as chairman of Streathayes Parish Council. Harry, very quiet and unassuming chap, but full of ideas and never quietly coming forward. And we've seen that in the past 4 years. He's really served Connie well as his Vice Chair. And I don't know whether or not he attended many events, because Colin does tend to do most of the events. He's very vigilant in his service, but if you did have it, then well done. So it really is to wish Harry every success in whatever you do for the next 4 years, Harry, until you get yourself back on the district council. And we thank you for all that you have done, you and your consort, and wish you every best. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to respond to that? Yeah. Mr. Harry Warburton, would you like to respond to that?
Right, hello to the new people and goodbye. So, maybe like brief 4 years, maybe it's not the most prestigious time to be a councillor. Obviously, a lot of that time went on COVID, on supporting COVID. I know we don't tend to thank people, but I think the council did a really good job in that period, although it obviously impacted what we could do as a council, and they deserve their thanks there. No, I don't think, I say Colin
did do most of the events, to be fair. And when you're vice chair with Colin, you just sit there. You don't say very much, so it's sort of like taking a year as a monk's vows in terms of silence. So, but of course, it's all the other work you do is the task groups and the like, and I think that's where you'll find, especially new people, where all the work is. You know, it's not exactly a part-time job. Council is hard work if you do it correctly, and I think, you know, that's how it is. Obviously, I've already released my wife Esther back to babysitting in London, which is why she's not here. But I'd like to thank her for supporting me. I'd like to thank Leslie and all the staff and everybody else, people who voted, although they're no longer here, and all that. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm not retiring, as Mike has just said. I'm going to take over the chair of the Streatham Parish Council, the new council. A lot of the things I did do in my 4 years was get 600,000 from the Civil Fund, which was needed to build the community hall, to go with the money that was already in there from section 106. So that, you know, that will be a big job. So I'm not quite retired as yet. You know, I will be still active for what I'm doing. But that's it really. I mean, best of luck to you all. God bless, really.
Thank you, Harry, for that. That's very kind of you. Can we move on then to agenda item number 7, please? I'd like to introduce you to my chaplain for the year, which is the Reverend Elizabeth Ford. Elizabeth, would you like to stand so everybody can see you? You'll be seeing more of Elizabeth in the future meetings. You're looking forward to joining us. We'll join us later this evening. Thank you, Elizabeth. My civic service has not been organised yet. We got 1 or 2 ideas for it. It's going to be a little bit different to what you've had before, so that should be interesting. But it will be fully organised very soon, and details will be forthcoming to you all very shortly. I've chosen my charity and spoken with Richard here. What we'd like to do is my charity, and that is the Lichfield Dementia Organisation and the Fradley Dementia New Home. So my charity will be for dementia in both those cases, and I hope I can beat your target, Harry, by about 10 times. Will be my ambition. So I look forward to you all support me. It's a really good cause, I think. So many people around us are suffering with dementia these days, and the one at Lichfield is extremely good and caring. And of course, County Council built a new dementia home at Fradley, which is looking for support. So if anybody wants to visit that, you're all very welcome to visit that at any time that you would like to. That's all I need to say on that one at the moment. I'll tell you more about it another time. Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome to the Chair. I just tried on a point of information. Birchwood is also a dementia-friendly community. We've worked quite hard over the past 4 years to get that accreditation from the Alzheimer's Society. But please don't forget in your fundraising that Birchwood also has a high level of dementia weekend, and we want to make the lives of those suffering from the disease and also their care far better than the person. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, Councillor. My apologies for omitting Burnwood. Burnwood most certainly is part of my intentions, it would be the Birmingham position and the family care home. So my apologies for not stating that, but it will certainly will be. And you'll be seeing me over there at that place. I think we've met before over there, I've got a feeling, but when I was in the vice chair, but maybe not. But yes, certainly it will be. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, anybody got any comments on that? No, everybody's happy, thank you. Right, let's move on to agenda item number 8, which is the election of a leader and the appointment of the deputy leader of the council. May I take nominations for leader of the council? Councillor Andy Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose Councillor Doug Pullen.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Byrne.
Vernon.
Second.
You second, Councillor. Okay, Councillor Vernon has seconded. Have we got any speeches in support by the proposer and the seconder, Councillor Andy?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. It really does give me pleasure to propose Councillor Doug Pullen as the leader of this council. I could say a lot about what a fantastic leader Councillor Pullen has been and has achieved in the last period, and there's plenty that has been done and lots in the pipeline that I could mention. He's also a lovely chap. However, Chair, I won't bore the council with all of that at this moment. I think one of the most important attributes Councillor Pullen possesses is his ability to work with and listen to others. He has no ego, no stubbornness. He just wants the best outcomes for this district. This is especially important at this time. I've absolutely no doubt that Councillor Pullen is perfectly capable and willing to work with and listen to all councillors of any party within this chamber to achieve the best outcomes for our residents and for our district in general. Chair, I so propose.
Thank you, Councillor. Have we anybody else that would like to speak, please? Any other nominations? I declare Councillor Pullen duly appointed leader of the council.
We were doing well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my apologies. We will now go for a name vote, which will be held by the chief executive. If there is more than one nomination, the name vote will be put to members to indicate which nomination they are voting for, or whether they wish to abstain. If any one nomination, the name vote will be for, against, or abstain.
Thank you, Chair. If I could ask councillors to answer for, against, or abstain when I call your name. Sorry, Councillor Wood. Well, if there are no other nominations, you don't think you'd have a name vote, do you? Sure, that's the case. But I'm willing to be challenged by anybody who wants to risk it.
I'll take advice on that.
Yeah, our constitutional advice is to take a name vote, even if it's
It just advises, is it? Don't forget, we haven't had the standing orders, which is part of the constitution that every new councillor should have. Just point that out if you're going to be awkward.
Yeah. According to the standing orders on the website, there is the election of leaders by way of name vote.
Okay, we continue with the name vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. So once again, when I call your name, please answer for, against, or abstain. Councillor Anketel.
Abstain.
Councillor Ashton.
Abstain.
Councillor Ball. Abstain. Councillor Beneficius. Councillor Bennion.
Abstain.
Councillor Booker. Councillor Braga.
Abstain.
Councillor Checkland. Councillor Coe. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Councillor Coe again. Thank you. Councillor Cox. Councillor Cross. Councillor D. Ennis.
Abstain.
Councillor L. Ennis. Councillor Evans. Councillor Farrell. Councillor Galvin. Councillor Harvey Coggins,
Abstain.
Councillor Hawkins, Councillor Henshaw,
Abstain.
Councillor Hill,
Four.
Councillor Hope,
Four.
Councillor Holland,
Four.
Councillor Hughes,
Abstain.
Councillor Leung, sorry, Councillor Marshall,
Four.
Councillor Mears, Councillor Norman, Councillor Powell,
Four.
Councillor Pullen. Councillor Ray,
Abstain.
Councillor Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say Robinson, yes. Councillor Robinson, my apology.
Fair enough, that time, abstain.
Councillor Rushton, Councillor Salter,
Four.
Councillor Sylvester Hall,
Four.
Councillor A Smith,
Four.
Councillor J Smith,
Abstain.
Councillor Strachan,
Four.
Councillor P Taylor,
Abstain.
Councillor S Taylor, Councillor Trent,
Abstain.
Councillor Vernon,
Four.
Councillor Warfield,
Four.
Councillor Whitehouse,
Four.
Councillor M Wilcox,
Four.
Councillor S Wilcox, Councillor Woodward,
Abstain.
and Councillor Yates.
Four.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There are 23 for and none against. So I therefore declare Councillor Pullen duly appointed leader of the council for the ensuing council term. Councillor Pullen, would you like to respond to that?
Absolutely, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the support and confidence in me, even those thank you anyway. Congratulations to every single councillor that's sat in this chamber at the moment. I know many of you from right across the chamber already really well. I look forward to getting to know you even more over the coming 4 years. It really is genuine honour and privilege for each of us to be able to serve our communities, and I feel a deep sense of pride that we have all been elected to represent our communities and are able to meet here and bear that responsibility jointly. We've got plenty of work to do over the coming 4 years. We're all very much aware of that. Lichfield District is a really, really exciting place to be at the moment. We're down to be the 4th fastest growing economy over the coming few years. We've got a revitalised leadership team that's been put together over the last 18 months, and we've got a real sense of purpose about what we're doing, about the fact that we need to invest in our communities, whether that's in a leisure centre, whether that's in a cinema, whether that's in community hubs or business hubs, right across the district. Whether it's about things that we've done in the last 4 years, such as our local council tax support scheme, lifting almost 2,000 people out of some of the element of council tax they're paying to leave more cash in their pocket. Whether it's the provision of warm spaces, our focus on biodiversity, and our improved leisuring offering, we have done a tremendous amount over the last 4 years. But we've got plenty more to do. Our manifesto set out some really clear objectives for the coming 4 years, and I fully intend that we deliver those over this coming 4 years. Likewise, I very much doubt that anybody in this chamber would argue that a greener, fairer, healthier and safer district is a bad thing. And it'd be interesting to work together to find out how we're already making that happen and what further steps we need to make to go even further or even faster with our colleagues from right across this chamber. Given that no single political party has got an outright majority in this chamber, we will, like it or not, we will be working together, and we look forward to it. We come from different political traditions, and some of that's even within our own groups. We come from different backgrounds, we come from different communities, we come from a variety of different life experiences, and no doubt we have all got a variety of ambitions for our district and for our wards. But let's not let those differences distract from the fact that we have more that unites us than divides us. Chairman, I'm ready to serve and look forward to the support of all of those around me as we move into the next 4 years. And I'll be delighted over the next 4 years, Chairman, to be supported by Councillor Andy Smith, who will be appointed as my deputy leader, who I have every faith in, and who I know that we share similar outlooks and similar instincts on how we want to move this district forward. And I've got every confidence in him to stand by the side of the deputy leader. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Andy Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I would just like to.
The battery, I'll shout. Thank you, Chair. I would just like to thank Councillor Pullen for having faith in me to perform this role. And I give this council my word, I'll perform to the best of my ability. I am genuinely looking forward to working with all members of this chamber to improve this district.
Thank you, Councillor Andy Smith. Sorry, Councillor. Yeah.
Councillor is the name.
Yes.
And I want to welcome Councillor Smith and Councillor Pullen to their new roles. The endorsement from the Labour group here may not have been overly enthusiastic, but we think that together we can make sure that the decisions that are being made by this council are in the very best interest. And it was great to hear Councillor Pullen quoting the Labour manifesto, looking for a fairer, healthier, safer, greener, that is, check against our manifesto. Things have changed, and certainly the people of the Chiltern District voted in this last election for change. The last time I was here, there were 4 Labour councillors, 2 here, 2 there. And we still pushed above our weight, I would say, trying to hold the then massively a majority of the Conservative controlling will to account. We've been made many promises over the years and half promises that haven't been delivered. But now, looking around this council, it is a very, very different council from the one that was elected 4 years ago with a majority of 21. It demands now, and our electors demand, that we work constructively and collegiately together for the benefit of the district, and I certainly look forward to that. I've got a long memory. I was first elected here in 1995, and that was a very sharp learning curve for me. Stood down in 2019, but I'm really excited now to be back and to have the honour of leading the Labour group in this council. I think you've all had the introduction of my shadow cabinet members who are ranked along the front row here, and they are determined to really get to grips with their remits, make sure that we do create the very best possible district. I hope all of the councillors here understand that it is a very different council. It will mean that Conservative backbenchers who perhaps haven't engaged as much in committee meetings as they might have done will have to engage now. Because with 17 Labour councillors and 7 Lib Dem councillors, we actually hold the majority of seats between us. And while we've made no formal arrangements, there will be times when we want to work together with the Lib Dems to make sure that the Conservative controlling administration is on the right track. Having said that, I'm hoping that it's going to be collegiate and constructive and consensual. And that's why I'm excited for the 4 years ahead. I'm not a Labour and cooperative councillor for nothing. I'm proud to be a member of the Cooperative Party, and we will see cooperation in action over the next 4 years. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ryan, you wish to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. The first thing I was going to say, it's nice to have some company. I've been in this chamber for the last 7 years on my own, so I'm very glad to welcome 6 other Lib Dem colleagues. As Councillor Woodward knows, and we've spoken, we as a group are extremely disappointed that discussions were not opened up with us to see if we could put arrangements in place for a Labour-led administration. We do see this as a missed opportunity, a huge missed opportunity for our community, because a major point that came up on the doorstep when we were campaigning was that it was time to change. Now, Councillor Woodward and I have spoken, and we are at one because we appreciate it would have been, the arrangement would have had challenges with just a one councillor majority, but we would have liked the opportunity to see how we could have got that to work. For the good of our community, because our community is telling us and told us that in the ballot box that we need a fresh approach. But that arrangement is not in place, but this council still needs a fresh approach under the Conservative-led administration. As Lib Dem councillors, our commitment to our residents and to this council are as follows. We will be a vocal opposition, but at the same time, we will work collaboratively with both the other parties in this chamber. And we actually think that 3 parties working together will make this a better council than the one that went before us. And we will also act responsibly. We appreciate in the days and the months ahead, at times our votes in this council could be quite significant. We will use those responsibly to avoid deadlock, because this council needs to operate and are for the good of our community and the good of our residents. But that is provided we do see change in this council. Councillor Pullen and I have spoken. He's aware of our priorities. We need to get those projects here in central Lichfield moving and quickly, the cinema, the Birmingham Road site and the leisure centre. And we need to see change on the priorities that we've campaigned for and were elected for. Improved infrastructure, more affordable housing, leisure for all, bringing more employment to Lichfield and Burwood, and specific policies to tackle with the climate change emergency. So I say to the Conservative councillors and to Councillor Fuller that we need change. This council can't continue as the last one did. It can't just be business as usual. And Councillor Fuller spoke, and I'm glad to hear it, that he's committed to collaboration. And as a group, we look forward to working with him and his group and with Councillor Woodward and her group as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norman.
Yeah, I thought actually the leader of the Conservative group, the majority group, and not majority in the council, actually did talk about change. I think the message has already got through from the electorate. We should always listen to the electorate, and there will be change and there will be collaboration and so on. So I've got no problem with that. What I do think is a problem if there's instability in national government and instability in local government. And with the majority of one and relying on people to turn up, it's clearly an issue. It certainly is for us. Those who know Councillor Ray from previous meetings do have a bit of concern about that. So we have this problem of instability in the future of the Lichfield District Council. I don't remember seeing the Lib Dem manifesto, maybe one exists, and certainly the shopping list that Councillor Ray has just given us now is quite a long one, which I shouldn't think anybody would object to. I believe we can all work together. As you know, I can be as nasty as anybody, but it will soon be able to elect a new chair of scrutiny, and that will all change, of course. And I don't want to influence the vote. I'm just saying, I'm not a collaborative fellow in these things. I do believe seriously that it will be better for the Lichfield District, so we can make progress. And okay, the chief executive might have a bit as well. It's getting into his stride, and I think things are optimistic for Lichfield, and I look forward to working with everybody, even Councillor Paul Ray, in chief.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bennett, you're right.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Firstly, I was quite encouraged by Councillor Pullen's words, particularly in terms of working together, and also Councillor Woodward's words along the same line. 24 years ago, I was first elected to this chamber, and I think there are two people, at least here, that one of them's hand's just gone up, and that were here at that time. And at that time, I think the ruling group had a majority, I think, of 2. And it was a council that really did work together across party lines. And I think that from your words it seems to me that you have taken this on board and that we're going to see the same sort of working together across party lines over the next 4 years. But I think we also need to understand, and again, you did mention the diversity across this district. When I was here before, you never stopped hearing, don't forget about Burntwood, don't forget about Burntwood from the Burntwood councillors. I'm saying, don't forget about the villages, don't forget about the rural districts. And Councillor Rushton and myself both elected in rural wards, myself in the same rural ward as I was 24 years ago. And there is very much a feeling that sometimes the district council forgets about the villages. I'm fully aware that a lot of the services that are causing the problems, or lack of, that are causing the problems are not fundamentally district council responsibilities. They might well be more county council responsibilities, but the district council has a voice with the county council and can push the county council in the right direction. And I want to see that happening. So, for instance, we have issues with fly tipping, and I have to say that last week I got absolutely brilliant cooperation from the district council officers, and we got that clear. We have problems with public transport. Our own bus service in our area was abolished by the grant was abolished by the county council a couple of years ago, and people are having real problems, not just the elderly people trying to get to the doctors, which is probably the biggest problem, but now if with the school buses coming home dead on finishing time at the Tamworth schools, parents, if anybody missing the bus is a really, really big problem because there's no public service bus to follow. We also now have this issue of the Chetwynd Bridge. Now, my ward is, or anybody that's east of the Tame, and of course Elford in the Whittington and Streetpave ward is also east of the Tame.
Excuse me, Councillor, I think we're getting into.
Yeah, I'm finishing off now.
Thank you.
And the Chetwynd Bridge east of the Tame is just another point where the rural areas start to think that the district and the county has forgotten about them. So I would expect that this council will do everything it can.
This is becoming an election campaign.
So I'm expecting this council to do everything it can to help us in the villages to get the sort of services that we want. And I'm very confident that that will happen. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Chair. It's a bit of a long one, this one, hasn't it? I would like to thank everybody who's spoken on this debate, because I think it's really important that actually we do our interviews and that we do continue to talk, and we continue to talk in chamber. I'm really pleased to see there's members of the press at the back, and I may have commented that there's 3 members of the press, and that may have been 4 more than the last time we were here. But I think this is really important because we are in that different situation now. We are in the council, and it does make life very interesting for every single one of us. And I think by far the best way that we can deal with that is by more conversation, less tribalism, more working together when we can, more recognising that while differences exist, similarities and agreements exist, and to focus on those. I would like to thank in particular Councillor Cullen for mentioning that he's looking forward to working on his manifesto for this year. I'm actually quite excited to see him delivering on the manifesto for 2019, because there seems to be a cinema that we're still waiting for since I think I was 5. There's still a load of flatland out the back there, which I think is going to celebrate its 20th year as Lord Friargate was first mentioned in this chamber this year. Just to check, I'm 37, that was before I was able to vote. So that's, I'm really looking forward to actually seeing some movement on that. I think we were promised some by the end of the year, and clearly didn't happen. So I think delivery is one of the words which we haven't heard that I'm really eager to see going forwards, because one word for one thing, the importance of conversation, the importance of those words is essential, but only if those words mean concrete, positive change for our communities. And I think that's something that certainly Councillor Bennion has spoken at length about, and we all have different communities that we represent, even within particular wards. I think we're all looking forward to being able to deliver our very best for those. And just before I close and I sit down, I'd also like to thank Councillor Ray for his interventions.
I was a little confused when he said he thought it was a missed opportunity and completely espoused all the benefits of the position that the Labour Party has taken, and particularly in needing to cooperate, particularly in working together, particularly in finding a way to find those grounds for commonality. And that's something that I will certainly seek to do from this side of the chamber, as I am sure both my leader that I'm very proud to be deputising for this year, and the rest of my group, and I sincerely hope the rest of the chamber will be too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Vaughan.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations on becoming Chair. And also to the leader and deputy leader. And I look forward to working jointly on the project that we have before us. When I joined this council in 2018, I was the 5th member of the then Labour group. And I know what it's like watching a sea of Conservative faces. I was shouted down on a number of occasions by some of the members opposite. And that was quite distressing for me personally as an individual. But I have got patience and perseverance. And I've already reached across the chamber to my opposite number in the cabinet. And he has reached across to me. And we will be meeting in a couple of weeks to talk together about how we can move things forward. And I refer Councillor Benyon to our manifesto, which talked about a better Lichfield, a fairer, greener Lichfield, a better place to live for Lichfield, for Burntwood, and for our rural areas. We have not ignored those areas, and we will tackle those areas. And we will hold the Conservatives to account when we need to, and we will work jointly with them when we hope to create a better Lichfield for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Anybody else wish to speak? I don't see any hands, so we move on to the next item, which is agenda item number 9. And over to the leader of the council, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman. I move that the political allocation of seats on committees and panels be approved. I move that the appointments to the cabinet be noted and the appointments to committees and panels be approved. And finally, that the constitution be amended to reflect the changes made.
Councillor Andy Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I so second.
All those in favour, please show. Any against? I'll report you out anyway. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 10. And over to the leader of the council again.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the chairs and vice chairs of committees and panels are appointed as submitted, and also that we now appoint chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
Thank you. Can I ask for nominations for the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee? Yes.
Can I just ask for clarification? Are those two items going to be taken separately or together?
We will take them separately, Councillor. Okay, I'm asking again, nominations for the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny. Yes, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chair. For a long time, we've had an absolute champion of overview and scrutiny in the council that stood out amongst many, and has long championed the fact, or the opinion rather, that overview and scrutiny ought to be led by the principal opposition. Circumstances have led us to make that reality. and I think whilst it's certainly been something that happens very well, I think I've got no hesitation in proposing Councillor Steve Norman as chair of Overview and Scrutiny. I know that he is fair. I know that he does overview and scrutiny in an apolitical way, whilst also being tremendously political, but perhaps not party political. I think it's incredibly important. I do think it's important that the cabinet are scrutinised closely by a critical friend who actually helps us make better decisions and helps us make the very best decisions we can. And I've no absolutely no hesitation in proposing Councillor Steve Norman for that role. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. There are a seconder.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad to say that the apprenticeship scheme is working well. Just Councillor Norman to take over from me, and I'm more than happy to second Councillor Norman's as the vice chair of no, as chair of the scrutiny committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wood.
Thanks, Chair. For anyone who doesn't know, Councillor Norman is my husband, and we just keep people on their toes by retaining him. To endorse that proposal. If anyone's in any doubt about how see champion scrutiny and proper objective apolitical scrutiny in order to make the better decisions, I can tell you that when I was a cabinet member at Staffordshire County Council a lifetime ago, I had a decision of mine called in, and the relevant scrutiny committee, of which Steve is a member, scrutinised that decision, and it was proposed by a Conservative member that we should refer back, and he seconded. So, you know, that good show that he will be completely objective in the way that he operates over his scrutiny. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, we know you will, Councillor. Thank you very much. Right, where are we now? Do we have any other nominations? No, I don't see any hands going up. So take a show of hands. I'm in abstention. You like that? Okay. Okay, can we have a show of hands for? Thank you. Do we have any against? And do we have any abstention? That's good, thank you very much. Right. Yeah. Can we have a show of hands on the chairs and the vice chairs and all the other committees as submitted, please? Those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Right, we now move on to agenda item 11. Over to the leader again, please. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I move that the appointments of representatives on outside bodies as submitted be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Janice, Rebecca Hall, would you like to second that?
Yeah, happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour? Please. Those against? And well, we know abstentions where they're going to come from. All abstentions, please. You must be tired putting your hands up. Thank you very much.
Move on to item number 12. Whether to believe it again, report the leader against the cabinet member decision.
Thank you, Chair. There's just one cabinet member decision for noting which relates to the awarding of the contract for phase 3 of the refurbishing of the council offices. Thank you. Happy to take any questions as well.
We've got no questions here, so we move on to the next item.
Over to the chair of the audit and member standards committee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Congratulations on your appointment to the chair also.
Before I move the minutes of the Audit and Member Standards Committee, because I've spotted him in the public, I would like to pay tribute to Christopher Spruce, the previous chair of the committee. Chris was an exemplary example of how a chair of any committee must conduct themselves. He was fair and effective, and his knowledge of audit is unmatched. Chris left some big shoes to fill, which I will of course endeavour to fill. So with that done, Chair, I would like to move that the proceedings of the Audit and Member Standards Committee meeting on the 19th of April 2023 be received and where necessary approved and adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder, Councillor Jonathan?
Yes, Dan, happy to second those.
Thank you. I'll read through each minute number 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, and 57. Are there any questions from the councillors, please? There are no questions. We will therefore move on to item number 16. We now come to the questions submitted by members prior to the meeting. The answers have been circulated by email, and the questions and answers will be published on the website alongside the rest of the papers. The members who submitted questions are able to ask one supplementary question. Senator Ashton.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the leader for his very detailed response to my question. Does he feel that a review of the lessons learned with regard to voter ID issues at the last election will be needed for future elections? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. We know that after every election, we'll always do a lessons learned across all items that cover us as the council. Absolutely. I know it's going to go through overview and scrutiny as well, and perhaps the government will want to do a lessons learned as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norman, do you have an answer to question 2? No, sorry, we get there eventually. Yeah, sorry.
He was close. He wasn't that close. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Trent, for your question regarding the food bank. I know that each political group leader responded to Lichfield Food Bank, which was the only food bank that did write to us. Probably aware there's another food bank in the district as well, which is the Cannock District Food Bank, which is equally important to us. And I think probably the themes of that were similar across parties, but certainly our response was that our primary objective ought to be to secure enough well-paid jobs within the district to ensure that we avoid in-work poverty, make sure that through what the district council is doing, that we have social value incorporated into our procurement strategy, we increase the number of apprentices, leave more cash in people's pockets. So through the local council tax support scheme, almost 2,000 people are paying less council tax on a yearly basis now for the actions this council has taken. We've reduced debt, important action against the most vulnerable people on council tax. And also there's some very practical steps like putting our council tax into food banks to ensure that people are able to know what they're entitled to and make sure that they're claiming that if they're entitled to that. My offer to the Lichfield Food Bank was to meet with them if I was elected. Having been elected for about 15 minutes, I have already taken the opportunity of writing to them to request a meeting over the weekend, and I look forward to meeting with both Lichfield Food Bank, but also Cannock District Food Bank at the earliest opportunity. And of course, if the Liberal Democrat group would love to tell us what they've done as well as part of their supplementary question, I'd really love to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Trent, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your appointment too. I'd like to thank the leader for that comprehensive response. I look forward to hearing more on the subject as we move through this council, and I don't have a supplementary at the moment, but many thanks.
Well, that brings us to the close of the meeting. Before we go now, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to it. But, that's the end of the meeting and, hopefully I can do it better next time. People can do more.